Who are you? When you look at yourself in the mirror, who do you see? Someone filled with kindness, compassion, and self love? Or someone filled with worry, anxiety, and negativity? Or perhaps you're a combination of both, at times prone to giving of yourself, at other times self critical and succumbing to your fears. If that's the case, perhaps you're wondering how you can steer to the loving and playful side of yourself more of the time. Well, that's the goal of my guest today, psychologist and self described art playgroundist Rachel Oz. During her decades long work with patients, she's come to realize that your worth is bright and boundless, and that our world needs more of the present and authentic you. Rachel is also the author of several books, including her latest, The Relationship Book, a soulful, transformational, and artistic inventory of your connective self. Rachel's here to tell us how you can reclaim your positive sense of self and bask in the joyful playground of life. Welcome to the Dream Power Experience, Rachel.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Debbie.
Oh, I'm so glad to be talking to you about this because it's such an important subject. Well, Rachel, when I first spoke with you, and then when I checked out your website, what struck me most was that you reminded me of Mr. Rogers and all that positivity he gave
Oh,
to children who watched him, because he was all about love, kindness, and care. That's what I see in you too. Is that an accurate assessment?
well, I am incredibly honored, and he'd certainly, I would count him as a role model, and he certainly aligns with my heart and values and melts my heart. Yeah, love Mr. Rogers, loved the latest film about him. Like, what is not to love about being loved just as we are?
Exactly. And that's what you're about. That's what I see.
Mm.
The other thing I noticed about you, and for those listening on the podcast, they can't see it, but you're a very colorful person. I mean, literally in the way you dress. So why is color so important to you? And should it be important to everyone else?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why is color so important to me? I just know that it has been since I've just been in this world. I have memory of in sixth grade covering my walls, piece of paper after piece of paper, so that it looked like wallpaper in my bedroom of all these drawings I would do with different variations of a rainbow. So it's just this rainbow-licious looking whole bedroom. And that is just not really stopped. I think that it does something for me almost medicinal. Like it makes me feel more alive. It is something of a natural expression, just like words. It comes with words. Um, and it brings me joy. So I just figure whatever makes me feel more vibrant, alive, and joyful is a good path to keep wearing on my body with clothing and surrounding myself with. But nature does it. Why shouldn't I? Um, that's my thought.
Yeah. So for you, dressing colorfully because you love that color is a direct reflection of how you feel about yourself. So did you direct your clients to make their clothing selections based on how they feel?
I do not direct them about how to dress. However, it is a comment I get somewhat frequently from my clients observing me and taking into account, what I'm wearing. And I remember one client saying to me, I look forward to each session to see what you'll be wearing. And a few have said over time that my how I dress is actually part of the therapy for them, because it both cheers them up, but is also a picture for them of sort of permission to be ourselves.
And it is so important to have that permission because many people don't, do they?
No, they don't. I mean, and I think that it can be tied to so many different sort of vulnerable things, whether it's um, growing up, they learned that it wasn't emotionally safe to be so visible or to get attention. And so better to camouflage or not stand out. And I honor those coping mechanisms. And sometimes people bring those coping mechanisms beyond where they're needed, keep using them.
And at that point, they've kind of shut themselves off from that
Yeah.
playful, joyful part of themselves.
Right, right. There's cost to it. Yeah. And I should say for the record that I also know of plenty of people who don't dress really colorfully because it doesn't really feel comfortable or fully like them. And, whether they dress then in neutrals or, but here's the key to me. It doesn't matter to me if it's bright colors or neutrals or whatever it is. I think the key is if it feels comfortable on your body, and if it truly feels like it's aligned with your joy, like go ahead and wear all black or gray or whatever. If it's aligned with feeling alive and feeling like this is me today, great, you know?
Well, and that goes to just the feeling of needing to be in touch with yourself and your feelings. If you are,
Yeah,
that right, if black
that's
is your
it.
favorite color, why not wear
Exactly, go
it?
crazy.
Yes,
Yes, yes, blackalicious, you
yes.
know? But I think you bring up a really central point, Debbie, which is it's about the key, the sort of deeper point here is, are you listening to yourself? And are you giving to yourself accordingly?
It's a very, very, very important point, which brings me to
Mm,
something that I wanted to talk about, which is that title you have of yourself as an art
mm,
playgroundist, because
mhm.
it's a term I'd never heard before. And so tell me what it means and what that has to do with play and our own well-being.
Yeah. Well, it is a term I made up. I love words and it's fun to make them up every now and then. Because not all the existing words can always express just what we want them to. So, art playgroundist for me is a term that I came up with a number of years ago. And what it means is that when I make art, it feels like I am a child again in the best sense of the word, and I'm on the playground and I have the wind in my hair and I'm running with my friends or I'm on the swings and I feel free.
And that's your way of expressing it.
Yeah.
Is playing, a something that is that's yeah, a better way of phrasing this.
Um,
Uh, is it all about play? Is it, or is play have different meanings for different people?
um, I want to say yes and yes. I think that for me, uh, play is something I have really um, reconnected with and own as an adult, that it's not something only reserved for children. And by the way, play is also, I think, really it is sort of tied together with the concept of imagination. And I think that is such a gift we're all given. And imagination makes our world so much wider, deeper, greater. The possibilities begin to burst open. And so I just think that, um, responsibility is so important as well. For some reason, that comes to me to mention. So it's not outside of being responsible, but I just think that it's almost like what I'm seeing back to colors is that play colors in the pages of our lives.
Mhm.
It makes it fuller, it adds the feeling, it adds the freedom. It includes the imagination, which is a tremendous part of our brain and our processing, to help us with problem solving and connecting relationships to one another, to connecting to ourselves. There's so much to it. But the other thing that I want to say briefly about play, when you said, is the concept play different to different people. And absolutely, I mean, really almost every word is different to different people. We have different experiences and associations with different things. And so it would be an interesting thing to randomly pluck 20 people out of a Starbucks coffee house and say, what does play mean to you, to each one, and to hear the different answers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the point though is that everybody should seek to find what play means for them, because
Mm,
play, whether it's going back to a childhood game or just drawing or
mhm,
whatever it is, uh that is really the important thing, is to keep that in your life, because it does bring out the imagination. It also raises your energy level, which also makes you feel better. There's so many positive things about it.
Yeah, and just maybe check in with yourself if you feel, does the concept repel me? And do I feel drawn to it? Do I feel confused by it? And just being just where you are with it, maybe informing to you about what, just even noticing what it stirs could be valuable.
Mhm. And one of the components that I think represents play for you is art. You're a very colorful person, and you
Mm,
have such beautiful art in your
mm,
books and
Thank you.
everything. So, uh, do you encourage people to take up a paintbrush, or is it just really
Mhm.
going back to that individual meaning of play?
Yeah, I think mostly it is individual. I try to go with people's true nature. And so if someone tends to be more of a word person and like the sort of writing, then that's the place I will encourage them to go, um, etc. I mean, I just tend to go with how someone is naturally built. I will say, though, that if it feels like someone is a little bit stuck in whatever the presenting concern from them is, that I will tend to sometimes encourage more right brain kinds of activity to try to access the stuck places they're not able to get at just with logic. And so sometimes that can be, if it seems suitable for them, some kind of artistic um, exploration of whatever the issue or pain is at hand. Or maybe it's dream work to try to get to the more intuitive and imaginative parts of their brain. And sometimes it's hypnosis if people are open to it, which I do sometimes in my psychology practice, which also helps to access more of the unconscious or that dream space.
How do you use dream work in helping your clients find themselves?
Mhm. Well, yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad it's dear to your heart and to mine too. It's such a tremendous side of us that we spend so many hours in, and sometimes, and maybe oftentimes don't take the time to lean into, the discipline of remembering as soon as we wake up, what did I dream, and then taking the time to ponder how that, what is the gift of that dream, what is the awareness that that brings to me that could be helpful to me. So what a lot of times people I'm working with will naturally bring up, gosh, I had this dream this, last night or this week, or, that seems so, pronounced to me. Can we talk about it? So sometimes it just goes into our regular old conversation. And then sometimes people agree to doing actually a little more formal dream work with me. And where I will invite them, for example, to tell me the dream and I will take notes. So to please tell it to me slowly. um, as if it's happening right now. So I am in, so I'm pretending I'm a client. I am in the forest and the ground sounds incredibly loud as I'm walking with every step onto it. I can hear. And then, so that they're telling it to me in the as if they're in the current dream. And then I just have a lot of questions to just facilitate them uh, being in a space that gets them more connected to the dream and to a sense of meaning and to what they're hearing. So it's just a lot of questions that can facilitate that.
Yeah. And do you
And be
do that?
fun. It's so fun to me.
Oh, it is. And
Yeah.
when you're doing that, are you doing that so that your client has that aha moment themselves and realize, oh,
That's what I hope.
yes.
That's the space, hopefully, we are together, co-creating, to make more possible.
Hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
that always is. And
Yeah.
do you encourage them to take action on the dream then?
Um, yes, sometimes. Yes, sometimes it will be action in their imagination. Like if you were to go back in and change anything in the dream, what might that be? So that's a form of action with more imagination. Or, is there anything this is indicating to you in your waking life that you feel moved in any way to respond to, you know? So I'm always respectful of their sense of timing and never want to push that, like, go do this, um, but more explore with them, what organically, arises for them. Do they feel moved in any way to do something?
Yeah, because it
Or
always is up to the dreamer herself to make
yes,
those decisions.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
We're
but
just
it's
here to
fascinating.
Yeah, we're just here to guide them, but it's ultimately their decision.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to get back to that subject of play because I see that you see it as a way of taking care of our inner child. So talk to me a little
Hmm.
bit about your definition of the inner child and what are some of the other ways that we can take care of it.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm thinking that my birthday was just Monday, and I put out a post beginning a little manifesto. I called it a woman festo, and a reflection, just a sound bite about me and my life and what matters to me and what moves me. And I begin it by saying something like, I am, I don't remember the exact ages I plucked out, but I am 2 and 8 and 9 and 16 and 57. Like I am all these ages. They're still all in me. And so when I think about caring for my inner child, she's still with me. It's not, well, I'm no longer that age. No, I'm now all the ages and the current number. And so what does that imply? That implies that there are all these different developmental ways to still care for myself. And it doesn't, certainly, I don't want to sit on the floor. Actually, my back would not allow it. And um, play with dolls all morning, which that may not be what the thing would be for someone else, but that would make sense for me. But I get bored now. So while that, younger part is still with me, um, there's, there's a change about that. But I, I love, for example, Jellycat is a brand, Jellycat stuffed animals. I think they're darling, and I have a handful of them currently in my bedroom. And when I'm sick or I'm feeling like I need just way extra tender, loving care, I'll put a couple in the bed with me and just have them near me. Like, I just think it's the sweetest thing, for example. Um, and a friend of mine, for example, well, a couple people I know, adults, in the last couple of years got roller skates. They used to do it when they were young, and they have embarked on it again. And they look like little kids when they're on the roller skates, like the joy, the pure joy. And so I think, and also recognizing when there's an extra tender part of myself that comes forward, like, oh, this part feels young, that some situation could bring up. And it's like, even just stopping to put my hand over my heart and just acknowledge the little girl. Like, oh, I see you, I feel you, like with love. Sort of, I'm going to hearken back to what you said, Debbie, in the beginning of our conversation about Mr. Rogers. Like, also letting her, the 5-year-old or the little girl, know I love you just the way you are. I can feel what feelings just came forward. I'm with you. Oh, isn't that perfect? Isn't that just wonderful that you're feeling just as you are? So I think it can also be that sort of pared back and not, complicated operating instructions.
So really tending to our inner child, however we do it, is a way
Mhm.
of really fostering self-love.
Yes, yes, for your whole self.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And then once you do feel that self-love, then you're able to better or in a freer way extend that love to other people. Would you say that?
Very true. Yes, I'm very, very with you there.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
And singing too is another way
Yes.
to, get in touch with yourself.
Yes.
Oh,
Maybe there's something about just sort of the freedom of expression. Because as kids, we also were just, I mean, hopefully, um, had a greater freedom without all the defenses from over the years with pain or difficulty. Didn't have many defenses. So I think there was much more, hey, I'll wear a striped sock on my one foot and the other one will have, dragons or castles on it or whatever. And this is what I want to play with, and not look for permission, or is anyone else doing it, or I'll say these things, or I want to do this, I don't want to do that, and not overthink it. So maybe part of it, of loving the inner child, is like also the wisdom of an inner child, of authenticity.
exactly. I mean, those were the days before the shoulds and the shouldn'ts.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So there were no limitations. We didn't feel the limitations back then.
Yeah. And so maybe that ties together a number of the things we've been talking about today.
Mm.
Maybe that's also part of what really play is breaking free as you're able, even if in small, gentle ways, um, to express what it is that truly tastes good to you, what really um, sounds like fun to you or peaceful to you, or um, that maybe part of what play is just more about true expression.
So important. I want to get back to something that you said, touched on at the beginning, which was about the role of nature.
Hmm.
And how do you feel about just the idea of going outside or looking and appreciating nature itself?
Yes. Yeah. I think my reference initially was about, hey, nature dresses up in color, kind of one of the ultimate role models for us and permission givers. The tree would say, go ahead today with orange. Another day, go ahead with red or green or yellow, or brown. Um, and so, I think that, and of course, so many people speak of this, but I think nature is that amazing place where not only we can listen to what's being shown to us, but where we can maybe more clearly hear ourselves. It's just that quieter space where we can be inspired by the quiet, by the beauty, by the life that's in there, by the support and safety that's in there. Sometimes danger, right? Um, could be a bear or, but, um, and I look out my window even now and see the wind going through the tree, and it causes me pause. It's almost a distraction. It calls me, right?
Right.
Like there's something so real there in the tree and in me.
Oh, there is. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I live out in country.
Oh,
And so, I get to see, the four seasons of nature go by and, of
oh,
course, the animals out there and everything. But
yeah.
but when you were just speaking, it brought to mind thunderstorms.
Ah.
I love thunderstorms, and since I've been a kid, I used to sit on my porch with my father watching thunderstorms go by. And they're powerful and they can be dangerous, but there's also this beauty in them. And
Yes.
very often they may be followed by a rainbow.
Yes, as you have behind you.
Right, the good
Yes.
and the bad, all of that.
Yes. This is welcome to our whole life, right?
Exactly. Well, Rachel, I said at the beginning that you've written a number of books, and your newest one is called The Relationship Book. So tell me a little bit
Yes.
about it and what we can get
Sure.
from it.
Sure. So the relationship book, um, it is in full color. And it goes through different chapters to reflect on for ourselves. That's like relationship with myself, relationship with animals, relationship with food, with other people, with community, with clothing, etc. So there's 9 chapters for different relationships, and the page spreads with all of the chapters have my colorful illustrations on them. I wanted to be sure adults still got illustrations.
Brings us
And
back to the play.
it does. And also includes each page spread an anonymous therapy client quote that was really that meaningful to hear, that I wanted to share with the reader, and I got their permission to do this, to share. And then my written reflection that's kind of prose like. Um, and so all of it's really meant to inspire the reader, to be super fun for the reader to think about and to be delighted by the illustrations, and to just give them a space, sort of like nature does, to stop and listen to themselves and to the best part of themselves, and to feel almost like a friend has an arm around them, listening to them ponder their different relationships, and again, including with themselves. So, yeah, that's the format of the book.
Oh, it's such a lovely idea and a lovely thought. Well, Rachel, how can people find out more about you, your work, and your books?
Great. So they can look at my website, which is racheloz.com, and my last name is spelled like the beginning of awesome. So it's Rachel AWES.com. And once you get there, you can find me anywhere from my webpage. You can click on the upper banner says shop, which leads to my Etsy shop with my books and art prints, to you can find me on all the social medias, just etc. It's a good hub to be able to branch out from.
Well, we've been speaking with psychologist, author, and art playgroundist Rachel Oz. Hope you've enjoyed today's program. If so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.